Hey there, my name is Cameron Miller, and this is Trinity Place in Geneva, New York. And this is a reflection, a sermon really, for the 13th Sunday after Pentecost. But it's a sermon that has nothing to do with Labor Day or Labor Day weekend. It has nothing to do with the gospel reading appointed in the Revised Common Lectionary that we use today. And it only tangentially points to those verses of Psalm 139, verses 1 through 17, which is an exquisite psalm. So, with that said, sit back, relax, put your feet up. Please begin by considering bringing to mind, if you've seen it, the gnarly stone spires at Chimney Bluff, standing sentry over the deep azure blue waters of Lake Ontario, looking like a giant petrified rib cage of some ancient gargantuan monster. Or recall the dark cream-colored beach sliding into the shallow end of Seneca Lake, soft and cool to sit in, the water a fresh sheet to pull over your knees. Or take a drive in your mind around the gravel road circling Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge, where the wetland marsh sprawls as far as the eye can see. And you know, looking out there, even if you don't see them, that beaver and gnat and osprey and heron and leech and all kinds of other bubbling life are woven into a single living, breathing body with biological rhythms all its own. Or hearing this at home, conjure up any spread of the creation's extravagance, local, national, international, interstellar, whatever images and memories linger in your mind. Erosion sculpted splinters, humanly groomed beach, wild preserve of wetland, all of it. Real estate. That's right. Real estate to buy or sell. A safe haven for a volatile stock market. Or is it an impenetrable mystery revealing a hint of the Creator's mind? As one of my favorite poems lyricizes, the tree at the center of the earth under which Buddha sat and on which Jesus hung has been cut into the real wood beams for the ceiling of the games room. A fat-bellied Buddha sitting serenely cross-legged in his immortal pose, an icon now, an icon for 500 million people that is of hope and holiness, is now a handsome souvenir of a trip to Thailand used as a doorstop for the dining room. Jesus, hanging mercilessly by nailed hands like a side of beef at Wegmans freezer, an expression of anguish frozen on his face with an agony so terrible it would incite a psychopath. But there he is on countless golden crosses, trivialized as jewelry to easily and without consequence wear around the neck. You get my drift, as obnoxious as it might be. Sacredness has been drained from so much that we once thought was eternally sacred, that now we must wonder if it ever was so. Like any religious experience, the further away we get from it, the more we wonder if it really happened. Sacredness. The sacred is not a renewable resource that we can tap into at leisure and with confidence that it will always be there. The same technology that can turn a sweltering 90-degree day into a comfortable 72 in our living room can also strip the threads of sacredness right off of our relationship with the creation. Because of our technology that changes every environment into one in which we feel comfortable, we must work to stay connected to the presence of God's touch in creation. If we do not walk into the woods, for example, and peek into the giant rotting beech tree that fell summers ago and try to see how deeply the bugs have burrowed this year, then we'll lose a strand of connection to the sacrament of creation. If we give up enough of such encounters in favor of comfort, safety, and getting things done, then a once intimate relationship will become quite pale, anemic, and weak. We all know this happens because we've all lost it before. Maybe still haven't recovered it yet. I know that when my back was too painful to allow me a simple walk in the woods, the opportunity to sit on a bench in front of the lake became ever more important. To stand for just a minute in the snow and take a deep breath of cold, even if a full-throated trudging in its deepness is prevented due to our health. Just that standing for a moment in the snow, taking a deep breath, allowing the cold of winter to enter our body, can bring rushing back all the wildness and mystery of winter. That tenuous relationship that we have or do not have with the deep and pervasive mystery of creation is a metaphor. Perhaps it's an equivalency to the sacred presence of God that we seek. The humanly constructed icons of holiness, like crucifixes, altars, bread and wine, are also mortal vessels of sacredness. They each have their own kryptonite. When marching into church has become rote, a routine, or it's simply the thing that we do on Sundays, something gets lost. When the ancient text of Scripture is unveiled and read, and our eyes glaze over and our thoughts drift to what we will be doing this afternoon, the sacredness is drained like the rush of blood from a shark's bite. When the Eucharistic prayer has been said and we sing the same old song again and we shuffle from foot to foot waiting for them to bring communion around and we don't know what to do with our hands while we wait, and we check out to see who's serving today and how they're doing, or who's here or who isn't here, then the presence of the holy may have become hidden from us. It's not the old-time religion of Gothic Catholic mysteries to say that sacraments can lose their flavor like chewing gum overnight. But we know when the truth of our experience comes up against doctrine, it's our experience that wins out. Sacrament, or the sacred, that is what this sermon is about, by the way. Remember the Catechism's definition of sacrament? The outward and visible signs of an inward and spiritual grace given by Christ as sure and certain means by which we receive that grace. But honestly, truthfully, the sacred is like a sunset or any other thing of beauty. As soon as we try to describe it or paint it or in any other way kind of capture it, it slips away. Baptism and Eucharist are the biggie sacraments of the church, but also in our tradition anyway, confirmation and ordination and holy matrimony and reconciliation and unction to the sick, those are all sacramental as well. But you won't be shocked, and many of you will agree with me, when I say that to define a sacrament as limited to something given through the Christian Messiah and held within a tiny corral of 7 ritual heirlooms is like describing the whole cosmos as composed of only the sun and the planets that we can see from Earth. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a place for explicitly Christian sacraments. But before we're Christian, we're human. In the same way that before we were Episcopalian or some other thing, we're just simply children of God. To tell you more than you want to know, I'm sure, the Latin word for sacrament originally referred to a soldier's oath of allegiance to the empire. But when the New Testament was translated into Latin from the Greek, sacrament had been a word indicating mystery. Sacrament is and was a reference to mystery. When the mystery of a thing, anything, has been forgotten, denied, ignored, or lost, it can no longer be a sacrament. When the mystery of God in the bread and the wine has disappeared and we're left to think and reason about how it could possibly be so, the sacrament's lost. Like an adolescent romance that has descended into an argument in which one has challenged the other to prove to me you love me. The mystery of sacrament cannot bear too much thought, too much reason, too much introspection. It's a mystery. It's not an accident that in this worship space we have oriental rugs beneath us, art hanging on the walls around us, a table that is more than a table, that becomes the center of our and focus of our time, and music that washes over us and penetrates us and comes up through us. We have silences that syncopate the words and the prayers, and we have readings composed of new beginnings and ancient roots. None of that, or how we do it, is by accident. You see, a sacrament must be entered into with the whole body, the whole person, the whole mind. A sacrament is experiential in thought, word, and deed, bundled with intention and slipped into the sacramental moment. When it's over, then we can think about it. When we've passed through it and felt it, then we can wonder about its meaning. When we have been touched by the holy and the sensation has migrated past us, only then, like lovers in the dark, can we think or speak out loud about what's just happened. Sacraments are mysteries that we experience, but only when we willingly enter into a moment of planned holiness as if it were never planned. Like lighting candles for a romantic dinner, we make ourselves ready in preparation to enter into a moment as if we're the guests, not the host. Is there anything so sweet as that moment of encountering mystery? From that Nikos Kazantzakis liturgical reading today, when the convert emerges from the water, the world seems changed. It's always wonderful and horrible, iniquitous and filled with beauty. But now, after baptism, the eyes that see the world have changed. The eyes that see the world have changed. The power of a sacrament is in its ability to change our eyes so that we see the world differently, the world that hasn't changed. I'm pretty sure you know the experience, every one of us does. Through some moment of intensity, such as a death, a car accident that somehow we walked away from, a medical report that comes back positive. A moment, in other words, that focuses us so absolutely in the moment that we emerge from it with new eyes. Out of those kinds of moments, the world suddenly feels different. We feel different. It only lasts a second. We only feel its presence for a short time, a few days, weeks, hours maybe. But such moments have a long half-life. Some of them reverberate throughout the rest of our lives. I would describe the sacred and sacraments generally as mysterious moments of union with God. Mysterious moments of union with God, in which our lives are momentarily touched by the utterly real presence of the holy. It's like bread and wine that we make into a sacrament, a vehicle of mysterious union with God. Its power is in the ability that we give to it to change our lives. For me, that power swirls around somewhere in the knowledge that Jesus was the host of a radically open table where he scandalized contemporaries on a daily basis by communing with the bad guys and offending the sensibilities of friends and enemies alike. His doing that and handing it then to us to also do with one another is what makes it sacred to me. For someone else, the power of that moment might be in the image of Jesus' hands around the bread, his lips on the cup, and feeling as if he were here and now and always will be. Still, for others, the power is in a miraculous transformation of alcohol into blood and wheat into skin, and all of it somehow okay and wonderful to ingest. But to whoever or for whatever, here's the solemn caution. For all of us, regardless of the presuppositions and hope that we bring to any sacramental moment, we need to leave them at the door of the experience. Leave all that stuff at the door of the experience and pick it all back up on the way out. We need to rather instead enter and deposit ourselves as guests, not hosts, and give up the control and come only to be present in the moment. The power of this and of all sacred moments is in our willingness to enter into it and then to let our eyes that see the world be changed, even in ways we can't predict or guide or control. When we emerge from the water or stand there and sing in the aftermath of that familiar taste of bread dissolving on the tongue and the tang of the wine, the world seems changed. The world is not changed. It is as it always has been, both wonderful and horrible, iniquitous and filled with beauty. But now, after worship in community, the eyes that see the world have changed. That's sacrament. That is the experience of the ordinary sacred, always available to us in any moment. Thank you for being here in this moment. The peace of God be always with you.